Welcome back. It's nice to have you back here for our Inside Boxing Throwdown segment. My name is Steve Johnson. My co-host, my main man, Arreola Martinez. Radio, this past weekend we had some not bad, not good fights. We'll talk about it. But, on Saturday early we had the NBC, CBS, whichever one you call it, the Premier Boxing
CBS,
Series.
Yep.
Where we had, on the main event, we had Carl Frampton going against Alejandro Gonzalez.
Yep.
And then on the undercard, everyone don't know when that was of interest, was Chris Arreola, and he was going against Kasi. Can't remember Kasi's first name. Fred Kasi. And then later on Showtime on Saturday night, we had the main event where we had Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and he was going against, I think it was Fernando Angulo.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the undercard of interest was Amir Imam, who was going against, who was he fighting? I can't remember.
He was fighting Angulo. Chavez was fighting
Marcos Reyes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk first about, real briefly, about the premiere show, since it was on in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, this was that show that it was at the Don Haskins Center, and it was kind of a spread out show. The preliminaries were on free TV,
Yes.
CBS, and then the big time shows, supposedly big time shows, were on Showtime in the evening. But anyhow, let me tell you, interesting fight with little Carl coming into the United States for the first time. Now you remember in last week's show, I called an upset.
Yes.
Just for that reason, not so much because I thought Alejandro was the better fighter, but because I really didn't know much about Alejandro. But just looking at the stats and looking at the paper, he was taller. Of course, he had the experience.
He was younger.
He was coming in from Mexico, hungry. He was younger. Everything was leaning into his favor. And knowing Mexican fighters, the way they come in strong and seize the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went out on the limb and called it. And I'll tell you what, there for the first round, I thought he had it. I mean, he came in strong. It turns out gave it all in the first round. I mean, what did he do? Knock Carl down twice.
Two legitimate knockdowns.
Yeah, kind of looked like he was going to come and pull the upset, but then of course there's no substitute for that heart of a champion. So obviously turned out to be a pretty good fight, and Carl Frampton got his feet wet. He's made his U.S. debut,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully there'll be more to see of him coming in from here out.
Well, I got a double opinion on that fight. I think that I don't think it was a good fight, just because, like you said, Alejandro got him 2 times in the first round, 2 legitimate knockdowns. I attribute that more to, I think, Frampton, like with most guys, it doesn't matter where they're from.
Jitters.
With most guys, it doesn't matter where they're from. Big time like that on TV, first time everyone's seeing it. His thing is I want to be impressive. And I think he was maybe a little distracted by that, and
I can tell you about that. I can tell you about that.
Him twice and dropped him twice, and then after that he proceeded to get his feet under him and took control. But I think it was the 5th or the 6th round where Gonzalez again took control. He had owned that round, and I thought, wow, Frampton's not looking too good. I would bet that if you asked him in private what was his grade for that fight, he'd probably take D. Not even a C, it was a D. So I'm like you though, but I see bigger and better things for him. I'm really attributing this to just, trying to be impressive, maybe go for a knockout. He got put back in his place a little bit to remember that, these guys aren't going to go easy. Like you said, especially the Mexican boxer is not going to come and lay down for him. And so that was that. Now let's move on to the next part of that show. Well, the first part of the show was Chris Arreola going against Fred Kasi. Let me just say this right off the bat, because I know where you're going to go with this, but like I said, I've been a long time fan of Chris because of his honesty in his assessment of his fight and the fight game. This fight, as far as I was concerned, at the weigh-in, when he took off his robe, I knew right then what was going to happen. Chris was, in my opinion, was lucky to get the draw in this fight, but once again, Chris didn't come in tip-top shape, and when he's not in tip-top shape, he's very average. When he's in tip-top shape, he's above average, okay? And so to his credit afterwards, one of the first things he said was, "I don't deserve a shot at Deontay Wilder," and he'd been politicking for that fight, as you remember. But he said, "I don't," and I think Chris might be done. But you go ahead.
You know, how can you not like Chris Arreola? I mean, he's a fans boxer.
Exactly.
He's a fight fans boxer. I mean, he goes in there, he boxes, and obviously he knows when he performs well and when he doesn't perform well, and you know, you've seen in his post interviews from all his past fights, he doesn't hold back. He tells it like it is, and he's very critical of himself. You know, so it kind of takes away that opportunity for all the web writers to take shots at him, because he's already taken a shot at himself. So I mean, how much more can you add to him? Just like, you know, Eminem in the movie 1 Mile, you know, where you know, you take shots at yourself, so you don't leave your critics much to write about. But Chris is as far as a person, you can't beat him. I'm like you as far as his professional boxing career. I'd say he really has to sit back and start thinking of what he's going to do. I mean, because I really would hate to see him take the road of being the opponent. You know, coming in and making a few dollars here, a few dollars there. But people need to live. I just think that you have someone with this kind of talent, and all he has to do is sit down and train and focus on what he's doing, and he can stay on the top. You know, but that's going to be something he has to fight the demons within himself. So
I agree. So let's move on to the Saturday night shows on Showtime. The fights on Showtime. Radio. There was 2 interesting fights on that undercard. The first one was where we had young Amir Imam was going against Fernando Angulo. Okay, and that fight, we'll talk about that. But then the other fight there was where we had McJoe Arroyo. And McJoe Arroyo was taking on the Filipino boxer, Arthur Villanueva. Did you happen to pay any attention at all to Amir Imam?
You know, I know Amir is coming in. He's working hard to make a statement. You know, he's from Cameroon. So he's coming in trying to make a stance and trying to get the fight fans behind him and become popular in the United States. And I think he might have kind of edged into that with this fight. You know, so.
Well, let me talk a little bit about, you know, just the fact that Fernando Angulo, I thought he was holding his own for a little bit, you know, there, and then Imam finally was starting to get at him, but that knockout was pretty impressive. I mean, you know, when you get a guy that goes down face first, that's pretty much
you've done your job, and you'll find that's pretty typical of your African fighters. They're heavy-handed. They hit hard, and that's one thing they always have had going for them. So if the punch lands, you're going down.
Okay, now McJoe Arroyo and Villanueva, just real quick, not a good fight at all to me.
Yeah.
I know they were trying to pump it up like it was a good fight. McJoe Arroyo, Puerto Rican kid, I like him. You know, his twin brother was there in the ring with him, you know, and it's a good story for them, but you know, this is, once again, we'll talk about in our third segment about these watered down divisions now, you know, where I think now McJoe is the IBF title holder, you know, and it's just, I don't know. You talk about it a little bit, that fight.
Well, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, there's not much, you know, I'm not a person that's going to try to pump up a fight that doesn't deserve to be pumped up. It just didn't pan out to be anything near what it is. And like I say, I want to follow fighters that look good and promising and give it all in the ring, and that's, you know, that to me just wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Now, real quickly, I don't want to spend much time on it. I know you don't.
Well, we got 30 seconds in the segment.
That's plenty enough.
So with this 30 seconds, there was another fight. Julio Cesar Chavez didn't make weight. He got the decision, and that's that. He's just a lazy ass. Okay? You got anything to say?
I do. He's lazy ass.
Okay, I'm not going to give him any publicity until he starts working in the ring and showing his skills and stuff. We don't need to pump that up. I mean, he stunk the whole goddamn show up.
And to be honest, I'm disappointed in Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia said
I don't even care about that.
We were going to see a different Chavez. We saw the same Chavez. So
that ends our segment. Okay, so we can move on to our next segment. In our next segment, we're going to talk about the fights that are coming up this weekend. So stay with us. And Steve, until the next segment, keep them hands up.
Keep them up, baby.